Welcome to Master Your Market. I'm Chris Ashmore. Katrina McCarter has worked out quite a number of things that a lot of others haven't. The marketing power of mums, using strategic partnerships to grow a business, and establishing a podcast in her niche. She hasn't published an episode for 2 years, yet hers is still in the top 100 podcasts, marketing podcasts in the world. And incredibly, it seems that no one else is doing a podcast on the topic of marketing to mums. Katrina's an incredible example of ingenuity and how you don't have to be a large business to dominate a market. Well, Katrina, firstly, thank you for joining me on my podcast. Can we just start perhaps with you? And that's probably why you're here. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and what market do you serve?
Yeah, really good question, Chris, and thank you for having me. I am a marketing strategist. I'm an author, I'm an international speaker, and I'm a podcaster. And I actually have 3 businesses. I really enjoy lots of diverse interests. My first business that I run is Marketing to Mums. It's a marketing and research consultancy where I work with funded startups right through to corporates, helping them attract more mothers and families through to their business. So that's the first one. The second one is actually called Partnership Mastery, and that's a training organisation, and that's where I'm working with entrepreneurs and small business owners, helping them identify meaningful partnerships for their business. So I teach them the methodology that I've been using for over a decade. And then my third business is actually under my own name. It's Katrina McCarter. I do a lot of speaking right around the country and also overseas on a lot of different marketing topics. So I run all my speaking through there, and I also run a signature 12-month program there as well for small business owners. So that's
fantastic.
Kind of me in a nutshell.
There we go. But what got you to where you are, though? Because you wouldn't have started, straight out of high school doing this. What was the journey to get to where you are?
Well, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like, that has really interested me. But I went off and got some corporate experience. I worked in the FMCG or the grocery industry for many years in the sales, and I loved all of that. I loved the thrill of doing the deal. So I represented some really big brands here in Australia, and I cut deals with, Coles, etc. I ran sales teams for Arnott's. So I had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. And then I kind of started having my family. I've got 3 kids. And I turned around. I remember looking at myself at 39 and I went, I'm 39. I so want to, launch my own business. I've got a mounting, mortgage. I've got 3 young kids now. I figure it's now or never. And I actually launched a online group buying site. So it was back in 2011. The internet was still fairly new. We'd seen Groupon and Scoopon and Spreets around for about 6 months at that stage, but no one was catering for the family market. And I thought, there's a real idea here. But I was living in Perth, which was away from all of my professional network that was over east. And I then went, well, I'm going to have to work out how to make some, get some money together. So I walked the pavement of St George's Terrace, which is the main business district in Perth, had a few uncomfortable coffees as I was trying to explain this idea I had. But within 6 months, I'd picked up 4 investors, and I launched the business. And I ended up growing that over the next 5 years to a community of 150,000 mums across Australia before successfully selling that in 2016. And that was really where I cut my teeth in small business and really learned a lot about how it works, what works, what doesn't work. And that's what really opened up new opportunities for me. And that's when I then launched into Marketing to Mums.
Fantastic. What a great story. And can I just ask about the partner?
The partnership mastery?
Yeah. What is that?
So that's really teaching people the methodology that I used in that very first business to grow that to a community of 150,000 mums. Because I remember I took out an ad in some print media. It was specialised print media that was going to the family market, which was my ideal audience. And I thought all I had to do was just do this print ad campaign, and all of these people were going to come to my website. And how naive I was. I felt, the day came, I waited by the computer, nothing happened. There was not even a blimp to my website traffic. And I felt like I may as well driven down the street, taken down the windows and started chucking out $100 bills. It was really not effective. And I remember sharing my war story with another founder over the other side of the country. We spoke about our businesses, and I said on a whim, hey, would you be interested in doing a competition together? And the mode of entry would be that they would sign up to our website. And she said, well, I would be, but what about we reached out to a third player as well? And I went, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And so I reached out to the largest parenting community at that time, which was stay-at-home mum. And I explained to Jodie, their founder, if I could find a really good prize, would you join us? And she, to my surprise, I was a startup. She actually said yes. And over the course of the next 3 weeks, I was able to, bring on a prize sponsor as well. And then over 10 days, we ran a competition, and I added more than 7,000 new members to my newsletter, which if I had done using paid media would have cost me in excess of $10,000. And all it cost me was some of my time and $50 for the competition graphics. So that for me was a complete revelation, like absolutely blew my mind. And I then just repeated that format with different communities that had the same audience as me, but weren't in direct competition. And so what happened over time was, after I sold that business, I then used it when I was building up marketing to mums, and I formed partnerships with Xero and all sorts of other businesses, and Sendle. And I worked out that it worked in the B2B space as well. And I thought, well, this is really interesting. And then people started tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Katrina, could you go and get me some partners? And I said, well, how about rather than I go off and get you partners, because that can be expensive engaging me like that, what about I teach you how I do it, and then you have got that skill forevermore? And so for the last about 4 years, I have been working with business owners, teaching them the methodology that I've been using for over a decade. And it's proving to be really successful across all sorts of industries, whether you're B2B or B2C.
That's fantastic. There's so many different angles I could go down here, and it shows perhaps that you can do business without having to spend a lot of money on marketing and sales.
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in marketing with no money, because I didn't have a lot. And also I grew up with a single mum, and she has always taught me the value of money. And I was so conscious in my very first business that I had these investors, and it wasn't my money. I had to be really careful how I invested this money, their money. So I've always been very conscious of exploring marketing with no money strategies before I ever consider paid activity. And that's something that I carry on with all of my clients as well.
Fantastic. Well, we'll go into that in a second, but you've written a couple of books.
Yes.
Marketing to the Mum Market, called Marketing to Mums, and The Mother of All Opportunities.
Yes.
What? Okay. So if we look at the marketing to mum market, why is that a particularly lucrative area?
Well, I really worked that out in my very first business, because I had a business that was catering to mums, and I did some research, and what I uncovered was that mums in Australia are responsible for more than $132 billion in spending every year. And if you actually put that into context, that if mums were an industry, that'd actually be our largest contributor to GDP. But what I was noticing when I had that first business was that the mums in my community weren't happy with the way brands were communicating with them. So I'd receive creative from brands who wanted to advertise through to my mums, and they would send me, it didn't matter what size the brand was, whether it was a really big player or whether it was just a new startup, they would send me their creative, and I'd go, wow, this this is not going to land with my community. You really don't know how to communicate with mothers. And I saw this disconnect, and knowing that it was such a big market, I thought that I was onto something there, and that led me to create Marketing to Mums, the consulting and research company. And from there, I really lasered down into this niche. And as I said, I wrote that first book in 2016, and that ended up going #1 on Booktopia's business bestseller list. And then in 2019, I launched the Mother of All Opportunity, which was more global. That book was really positioned me on the global stage as a Marketing to Mums specialist, and I launched that actually from the world's most influential conference in the space, which was M2 Moms, which was in New York, and I was asked to deliver the opening keynote and launch the book from the stage. That was a really, really big thrill.
Absolutely. How are you with speaking in front of a whole heap of people? Do you get nervous?
Absolutely. Every speaker does get nervous, but the more you do it, the less nervous that I get. Certainly my first year of speaking, so I've been speaking since 2016, I really felt it. There's always a little bit of butterflies, but to me the butterflies really just show that I care and that I'm really invested in who I'm going to be speaking to, and I want to make sure that I deliver. But I don't have the high level of nerves that I had in that first year anymore.
Just with that marketing to mums, and companies just don't get it. They're not able to tap into the mum market, or they can't do it properly. What are they doing wrong? What do most businesses do wrong then?
Oh, look, I've actually just delivered a masterclass on this morning, so it's really top of mind. Look, it's the same mistakes always. From a mum's perspective, it's stereotyping and treating mums like they're all the same and really trying to push for a sale. So that is from mum's perspective. From my perspective, as a Marketing to Mums expert, they just don't understand their audience correctly. And so what they tend to do, they make assumptions, so they don't have the data or the research behind them to confirm who they believe their segment of the mum market is, because you cannot use one strategy for every kind of mother here in this country or anywhere in the world. It just will not land. So it's really important to understand what generation of mother your most profitable mother comes from, and then choose your messaging, your channels appropriately. So that's where I see people really not doing well. That's the core mistake. So, and they also don't understand them in enough depth. They'll understand them superficially, but they need to understand them very deeply, because they're small nuances that if you can capitalise on those insights, they can make a huge difference to the strategy you create and the results that you deliver.
If a brand targets the mum market, though, would they be isolating those that aren't mums?
No. No, not necessarily. What I'm a believer in is very much niche marketing. I'm a data-driven niche marketer, so I want to identify who your most profitable mum is or most profitable customer is, and then build a strategy around that. It's not to say that you're not going to attract people outside of that, but you're more readily going to resonate with that most profitable customer that you're looking to gain, and develop a relationship and to acquire them as a customer and keep them as well.
Any brands that are doing it well?
In the mum market, Clorox is actually a really great, it's a US bleach brand, it's bleach of all things. They actually do it really, really well. I think Aldi, even whilst it's not directly going for the mum market, I think it resonates really well, because mums purchase because of your differences, not because you're the same as everybody else. And I think Aldi do such a good job at highlighting their differences. So, I don't know if you remember the ad of the woman that kind of danced on her trolley as she was in the car park. She kind of flies across and does a whole lot of acrobatics, really playing on that playfulness, because grocery shopping really isn't playful and fun, let's be honest. And they make it a really fun, playful communication. And so much of the mum communications are so serious. We just want someone to lighten it up a little bit. So those fun, playful communications can work really nicely as well. So they do well.
Now, we spoke about it before, marketing without a budget, and
Yes.
you have a podcast, or you had a podcast
Yes,
on the
I do have a
topic.
podcast. It's
You
just,
do have a
I'm just not recording right now, Chris.
okay, because you're with me. Marketing with no money is the podcast name. So, can I ask a few tips on how we can market without money?
Absolutely. Look, as I've said a few times through this interview, I believe very strongly in marketing with no money, and I don't think that anyone should really be engaging in paid advertising until they've explored some of the marketing with no money strategies. One of the key ones, I'd say, understand your differences that are valued by your ideal customer. So if you understand why people choose you, amplifying your differences is one of the best ways that you can acquire new customers and retain your existing ones. So being different is a really big one. Another one is your customer experience, is massive. So when anyone comes to me and says, look, I'm really keen to work with you, but I really don't have much of a budget, and I say, how much have you got? And they're like, well, not existent. Where we laser down on is customer experience, because if you want to activate an army of referrals into your business, all you need to do is exceed your customers' expectations. So if you can really double down in this area, you can do really well. And I've got, I'm thinking of a children's activity provider that I've worked with over the last 4 years. We have doubled down on customer experience. They've not spent anything in terms of paid activity, and we've doubled their sales revenue over 4 years, their annual sales revenue. So it really can work exceptionally well. The other area, I would say, written testimonials. Testimonials, that third-party endorsement is incredibly influential, and it's not just about acquiring those new customers. It's also about, it's not just about acquiring those testimonials. It's actually about amplifying the testimonials once you've got them on a regular basis.
Where are we talking about? LinkedIn and your website?
It would depend very much on who your audience is. So again, It comes back to always who's your audience profile, but it might, if it's appropriate for LinkedIn, it's across multiple platforms, but definitely your website. I mean, your website should be littered with numerous pages of testimonials. So don't just put them on your homepage, or don't just put them on your About Us page. They should be littered through many different pages. They should also, I say to my clients, you should be showing one testimonial on a graphic on your social media platforms at least once a fortnight, if not once a week. You should also, on your Instagram bio, you should have a whole lot of graphic testimonials that people can do research on you. Increasingly, we are finding consumers are doing a lot of background work before they ever reach out to a brand or a business. So your online presence is so incredibly important.
It's funny because at the moment we're putting our house on the market, and for big ticket items or big things, big changes in your life, and these are things that you do once, twice in your life, so you're not really checking out. You wouldn't make a decision based on an ad necessarily, but you will based on a referral. So who do you know? Who's good? And it's these kinds of things that, as you say.
And just coming back to mums then, so when women become mothers, they're 8 times more likely to talk about brands and businesses. So they effectively become a micro-influencer just overnight by having a child. They become the go-to person for people in their network, but also their extended family over exactly that. Who do I need to sell my house through? Where do I go to the dentist? I'm wanting to go out on Friday night. Where can I get a really nice vegetarian meal? Mum just becomes the font of all knowledge, or the reference point for a lot of consumers. It's really important that whether you think mums are your market or not, you want to make sure that mum's got a good opinion of your business or brand, because she's going to be likely to be asked about you.
Absolutely. Now, if we can turn to something else, and that is podcasting. You've delved with a couple of podcasts. How important have they been for you for marketing?
Oh, incredible. Podcasts have been fantastic for me, Chris. I've got two. My first one is Marketing to Mums, and I launched that in late 2018. It was fairly early on in kind of podcasts. They'd probably been around a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, but there probably wasn't the plethora that we have now. What it allowed me to do with that podcast was very much position myself internationally in the Marketing to Mums space. It remains the only podcast worldwide that deals in the Marketing to Mums space. So,
Really?
yeah, it's the only one. Yeah, it's still no one's come in, which has surprised me. So
Yeah.
it's been a great opportunity for me to open up doors, and I've had conversations. I've interviewed the MD of Gerber, the biggest baby food company. I've had the global head of Volvo Cars. I've had senior people from Unilever. It's allowed me to really open up doors that I would never have otherwise. So from that perspective, it's been absolutely sensational. Now, with my second podcast, that was not an interview-based podcast. It's marketing with no money. So it's 13 very short 10-minute episodes of me, and I share a different strategy each time. That for me was very much helping me with content. So it provided me with a whole lot of content for kind of the 6 months to the year that I'm still repeating now a couple of years later.
Content that you're also repurposing for other things.
Absolutely. Well, I run a Marketing with No Money program. So it certainly feeds into that. And I've also got a Marketing with No Money scorecard. So that's where people can come in and do a quiz to work out what Marketing with No Money strategies they should use in their own business.
Right. Just on that Marketing to Mums, and yours is the only podcast in that market, are there other authors of books that target mums? Are there other? There are.
Yes,
so
there are.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because fully a third of us, Aussies, adults, are listening to a podcast every week. It's part of what we do now.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's amazing that there's room still there for niche markets like what you've got. So if anyone who cannot be bothered, reading a book or want to get their information audibly, and they want to learn about marketing to mums, you've got the market covered. It's fantastic.
I was going to say, I haven't recorded in a couple of years, maybe 3 years. It still features in the top 100 of marketing podcasts for various countries. I'll get a little thing to say, you're just out of the top 100, and I was like, wow, was I in again? That's fabulous, because I'm not recording. So it definitely has great longevity, and that's one of the things that I've loved about the medium. I also really enjoy speaking with people.
Yes, that's good. Now we're just maybe a last question, Katrina. What would you say to anyone in business? Like at the moment, there's a bit of, it's tough. It's tough for all of us. Cost of living. Businesses are struggling because people aren't paying for stuff. What would you say to a business owner or someone who perhaps needs a bit of inspiration, or perhaps they're looking to grow? Any words of advice?
Yeah, absolutely. Really get close with your customers. Really get close with your existing customers. Understand who they are, what they really need, why they really choose you. And that's going to certainly help you not only retain those customers, and it can also potentially open up some new service offerings for you, or product offerings for you in your business. And it can also help you shape your marketing strategy. So I just think it's all about taking the time to getting to know your customers deeply. And that's what I feel is often overlooked during times of a cost of living crisis, or when things get a bit tight, or the year becomes a bit what I might call lumpy. That's the time to kind of start investing in research to really understand who your core customer is, and work out, what it is that they want.
Fantastic. What a great way to end it. Katrina, thank you so much for your time. We've spoken before on other podcasts. Always good to talk with you. And all the best.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to catch up.